I've seen you in a movie, I heard you.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here with you today. It's been a while. I've missed you all so much. My YouTube family, how have you been? I hope you've been well. I hope you've been resting. I hope you've been smashing those goals and you've been having the most amazing time ever. Welcome to the Psychologist NDTV with me, Dr. Blessing and Tamu. Here we discuss psychological issues. We give you live hacks and give you information, well-researched information that will help you live a more healthy life and maximize all of your potentials. Today I'm going to be talking about 11 irrational beliefs that were outlined by Albert Ellis, one of the foremost cognitive behavioral psychotherapists. And these beliefs are known to lead to mental health problems. Now, one thing about these beliefs I've observed is that we all have them, some of them deep down there, but unconsciously they influence our lives, and then they make us not to maximize our potentials. Before I get into details, I'm going to tell you a little story. Now, at one of the offices where I volunteer, there is a certain lady. When I met her, first of all, she's in that office carrying out the job of a psychologist. She's not quite trained to be a psychologist, but because there was no expert, she was carrying out those duties. And when I came in, I thought she was going to be excited. Oh, now she's gotten help, she's gotten someone to learn from, and blah, blah, blah. But to my greatest surprise, from the first day I arrived in that office, she started fighting. She felt threatened, and she tried to fight by coming in the first instance, and then she couldn't, and then I got in, and she just fights, over everything, if I might say. She wouldn't greet me, when we have meetings. Each time there's a meeting, she must say something or the other, and then she goes something like, I didn't get a white t-shirt, but Dr. Ntamu got a white t-shirt. I didn't get this, but Dr. Ntamu, who is here only one day in a week, gets this, and stuff like that. So she makes the environment kind of toxic, but thanks to God, I know exactly how to deal with that. But what I've noticed is that over time, I've been there for about 3 years now, this woman hasn't improved herself in any way. She hasn't tried to acquire the skills that she's lacking. If she's threatened because I probably have some qualifications she doesn't have, I thought she would have initiated some steps to get these qualifications. She has done none of that. She has remained exactly where she is. And she has used all of the energies that she would have used to develop herself and become more competent. She's used it in fighting. Now, recently, I went to the office, and whilst I was there, someone was asking her to do a presentation during one of our programs. And she had said, no, she was not going to do it. The people that have been doing it in the past should do it and stuff like that. And then he complained to me and said, you see, for the past 1 month, she hasn't been talking to me. She hasn't been responding to my greetings because she said they gave me the responsibilities that she is supposed to carry out. And now that I'm giving her something to do, she says she would not do it. And I went like, wow. So sometimes the irrational beliefs that we hold, even though they do not seem to affect us in any obvious way, we are able to seemingly function normally. They limit us. We are functioning normally, but we are not maximizing our potentials. So I've come today to talk to you about those irrational beliefs, and when you know them and consciously, not allow them influence you, you are more likely to maximize your potentials. The first irrational belief I'm going to be dealing with today is that it is a dire necessity for an adult human being to be loved or be approved by every significant person in his community or by the people that he loves. Now, that's unrealistic, right? It is simply illogical. Now, the first question I would like to ask you, or I would like you to ask yourself, is that do you like every single person in your community? No, because it's just impossible. We are going to like some people, we are going to dislike some people, and it's vice versa. Some people are going to like us, some people are going to dislike us, and it's just okay. It's part of life. Now, if you go about life trying to ensure that every single person you come across likes you, you spend so much time and energy trying to get people to like you that, first of all, you will lose who you really are because you're going to begin to continuously adjust yourself to fit what people want you to be. Secondly, you will have no time left for other activities, to enjoy the activities that you like or to work towards your goal. So you're just going to be a man pleaser, and then you're not going to achieve much in life. You don't want that, right? That's it. So it is not important for every single person to like you. The goal here should be that you love yourself. You are comfortable with who you are and you strive to be the best that you can be. For standards, I recommend the Bible. Be what God wants you to be, and that should be enough. Now, if it is not enough for anyone, then it's okay. Life goes on. Get ahead and achieve your goals and don't bother about it. Now, the second irrational belief that we usually have is that one should be thoroughly competent and adequate in absolutely every activity that they engage in. How is that even possible? That every single thing you do, you should do it to perfection. You should do it well. Now, first of all, there are some things we have no control over. There are some skills that will require some characteristics that we may not possess. Take, for instance, someone who is born maybe with some defects in the leg or something. You cannot be a sprinter. And there are so many characteristics that we cannot control. So we cannot be competent at every single activity. We will do some things well, and some other things will not do quite as well. And it's okay. Just be able to recognize your abilities, your innate abilities, and develop them. Recognize your competencies and develop them and try to be the very best at what you know you can do. And other activities that you cannot be the best at, let them go. Focus on your strengths and work on your strengths. Be aware of your weaknesses, but don't be limited by them and do not focus on them. For Christ's sake, life goes on. And if you focus on your strengths and, work on your strengths, you are definitely going to win at life. It's better to be a Michael Jordan at basketball than to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. Number 3. Now, before I tell you number 3, have you subscribed to the Psychologist NDTV yet? If you have not, you're missing a whole lot. Please click on the subscribe button so that you are subscribed to this channel and you can follow us on all of our journeys and you will be updated whenever a video is uploaded. And also click on the notification icon, the bell icon on your screen. Thank you very much. Now, number 3. The third beliefs that human beings have that are irrational is that some people are wicked, they are villainous, and they should be punished, or we should focus on that. We all make mistakes, right? And there's no perfect person out there, like we already pointed out. Now, so there's somebody that might be wicked, that may go out of their way to be wicked, but you should not be preoccupied with that. And you may not be able to get them to justice or get them to be punished. Don't preoccupy yourself with the thought of their wickedness and how they can get punished. Just ensure that you keep safe and remember that every one of us have got our weaknesses. Sometimes people act based on the number of information, the level of information and awareness and exposure. They are not really trying to be wicked, but they do not know better. In such instances, you can talk to them, you can teach them, but if you do not want to do that, go on with your life. Avoid, instances, with them. Just go and move on with your life, because it's not possible to educate everyone, and it's not possible for you to ensure that people are punished, and people shouldn't be punished if they're only acting out of ignorance. So let's give some space. Let's be more tolerant. Let's try to educate people who are ignorant. Don't always look at the negatives. Don't focus on punishing. Now, number 4. The fourth irrational belief that human beings always have, according to Albert Ellis, that leads to mental health problems or prevents us from maximizing our potentials is that things must always go the way we want them to go for us to be happy. Now, you aren't God, you do not control the universe. There are a lot of things that are beyond and out of your control, and so it is not possible that every time you will get what you want, that things will go your way each and every other time. Now, sometimes we win, they say, and sometimes we learn. When things go your way, be happy, celebrate. When things will not go your way, now you have to deal with it. You have to live with it. Things will not always go your way. If there's anything you can do to make things better, go ahead and do them, but don't dwell on it. Don't cry about it. Don't dwell on it. Just move on, because you should know, you should understand in life that things cannot always go the way we want them to go. And when things do not go your way, it is not catastrophic. It happens to every one of us, and you can live with it. I mean, it's unfortunate if things do not go the way you want them to go, but there's no catastrophe in it. I mean, life goes on. For instance, if you're a young lady and you're in love with a gentleman and he doesn't seem to have his eyes for you but has his eyes for another girl, now things haven't gone the way you want them to go, but life goes on. There's someone out there who would love you, who has his eyes on you. It is better you begin to look in that direction than spend all your time bewailing the unfortunate situation. Life goes on. Now, irrational belief number 5. The 5th irrational belief that people usually have is that the problems we have in life are externally caused, and we do not have any power to control what happens to us. People have an external locus of control. So when things go wrong in their lives, they seek someone to blame. They are blaming Mr. A or Mr. B. Someone else caused it. I mean, every other thing but them caused it. Now, when you have an external locus of control, means that things go wrong not because of what I do or how I do them, but because of other external factors, other people in my environment and every other thing. Then you take no positive action to change the things that happen in your life. And so you remain all the time, you keep failing. You keep failing because you failed. And instead of you to think, oh, probably I didn't read hard enough. I should read harder next time. I should get a lesson teacher. I should buy some textbooks. You rather think the teacher was wicked. The questions were too difficult. So it's not really my fault. And then you don't do anything about it and you keep on failing. We usually should take responsibilities for what happens to us. Now you have a role to play, and there's usually something that you can do to better your situation. Look for what you can control the things that you can control, change the things that you can change, and by so doing, you can change some of the outcomes of your life. The 6th irrational belief individuals have that leads to mental health problems is that if something is dangerous or if something is fearful or fearsome, that we should be constantly preoccupied with it. So if something is dangerous, I should keep thinking about it over and over and over. And we can extend that to say, if something is dissatisfying, you should keep thinking about it. I mean, that is rumination, and rumination is one of the key causes of mental health problems. You can't keep thinking about it. You can't keep thinking about it. If something is fearful or something is disturbing, protect yourself from what you can, and then live your life. You can't dwell on the negative thoughts, negative situation. No, if you do that, you will run into mental health challenges. Dwell on the positives, dwell on your strengths. If something is fearsome, change what you can, protect yourself how you can, but just don't dwell on it. Don't just keep thinking about it. For instance, if you're scared of snakes because they're dangerous, if there's something you can do to keep snakes out of your environment, do that and take your mind off it, because the fact that you keep thinking about snakes is not going to make them disappear from the earth. Something like that. You're continuously thinking and ruminating over those things that you're afraid of will not change them, will not take them away. But rather, if you stood up and took action, you might be able to change, yourself in relation to those things, if I may say. So that's irrational belief number 6, I guess. Now, irrational belief number 7. Now, another thing people do is when they're afraid of something, they continuously avoid that thing. So when they have challenges, instead of dealing with the challenges, they continue to avoid the challenges. When you have something you're afraid of, instead of dealing with it somehow, dealing with your fears and facing your fears, you avoid them. Now, if you engage in avoidance behavior, you're going to be running away for the rest of your life. Most of the things we have irrational fear around, most of the phobias we have, the fear we have of them exceed their capacity to hurt or harm us. Some of these things do not even have any capacity to hurt us, but we are afraid of them, so terrified of them. Now, if we face up to our fears, we will find out, that these things cannot harm us in the first place. People are afraid of all sorts of things, from dogs to cats to the number 13 to heights and what have you. Now, some of these fears we have, we can overcome them by actually facing up to our fears instead of running away from our fears, and then let's take it down to activities. If you find a task, you think that a task is demanding, instead of dealing with it, sometimes we keep avoiding that task, and that leads to procrastination. I'll do it later, and then it never gets done, and that affects our lives and affects our goals and affects our progression and all of that. But if we just encounter and begin to deal with that thing at once, we find that we get it done. The most difficult part is starting. But once you get started, you see you've done half the job. So no more procrastination. If there's a challenging task out there, face it and get it done once and for all. Now, the more we try to repress this task, you just don't want to remember that you have to do or to carry out that particular task. You keep pushing the thought of that task to the unconscious. You're expending psychological energy, and then that task will keep trying to pop up to the conscious. And that process of urging and repelling forces, as Sigmund Freud calls it, leads to mental health disruption. So there's always anxiety caused by that. You're trying to forget, you're trying to suppress, that thought from coming up. You're trying to prevent yourself from remembering that you've got to do this. And as you do so, the thought is trying to push itself up, and then you begin to have anxiety, and then you have mental health problems, and all of this happens in the unconscious. So let's take the attitude of facing up to our challenges, facing our fears, confronting our fears. Do something about what you can do something about, but do not keep avoiding. Do not keep running away from responsibilities. Do not keep running away from tasks that you have to do. Do not continue to leave them for later. Begin with the most difficult tasks. Now, that's one tip that helps me a lot. So when you have a number of things to do in a day, start with the most difficult one. And once you get started, you are done halfway through it. Now, I hope that you try this out. And now we get to irrational belief number 8. So irrational belief number 8. People always believe that we must be dependent on someone and have someone who is stronger than us to depend on or to protect us. Now, you might not necessarily have someone stronger than you. Even if there's somebody you think that is stronger than you, that you depend on, you cannot control the fact that they stay with you or they leave. You can't control them. They might leave at any time, and that will hurt you. Now, the goal should be self-reliant. We've got everything within ourselves to confront our fears, to live our lives. And the more we try to be independent and self-reliant, we build capacity, we forge on in life. But when we think we must depend on somebody for anything or for everything, we find us limiting ourselves. We limit ourselves. We do not make progress. We do not build capacity. We end up disappointed. We end up depressed, because when most people find out that you're depending on them, they have a kind of power and control over you, and they can do anything with you. So you don't let anyone have control over your life, over your happiness. Make sure that you are in control of your happiness, and your happiness depends on no one but you alone. Don't give that power to anybody else. Now, irrational belief number 9. Now, people also believe that our past experiences are a very important part and determinant of our present and how far we get in life. Now, that is not true. It is true that our experiences in the past have an impact. Especially adverse childhood experiences, but these can be dealt with and you can be free of them. You don't have to be stuck for the rest of your life with those experiences and what they cost you. No, you can see a psychologist, for instance, deal with these past experiences and move on with life. You don't have to dwell on the past. All of the time you spend dwelling on the past, you rob yourself of living in the present. And the time you spend thinking about the future, you're also robbing yourself of living the present and enjoying the present. That's why I always talk about mindfulness, living in the present. That's the best state of mind to have. So stop thinking about the past. The past is what it is. It's gone. Focus on the present, not even on the future. Now, you can plan for the future, you can work towards the future, but do not dwell on the future. Do not remain in the past. Be in the present and enjoy your life for the now. Irrational belief number 10. Now, there are some people who, like we say in Africa or in Nigeria, you drink Panadol for another person's headache. So someone else is having a headache and you are taking the drugs. Now, some people think that they must be continuously preoccupied with other people's problems. Everyone has got their problems in life. When you see someone has a problem, you can offer them some help if you can, but don't dwell on other people's problems. You cannot save the world. You cannot save everybody. Be kind, Help those that you can, but do not spend your time thinking about other people's problems. Give them a helping hand and move on. You've got your own problems to deal with. So we shouldn't preoccupy ourselves with other people's problems. Help them when you can and move on. And finally, irrational belief number 11. Now, people believe that there's a certain solution to human problems that is perfect, that is invariably correct and perfect, and we must find that solution. So there's only one way to solve a problem. There's only one way a thing can be done, and I think that it's a no-no. There are several roads, like they say, that lead to the same destination. There are several paths that you could take to solve a problem. It's not just one way. So if you try one way out and it's not working, look for another path. Look for an alternative solution. There are several solutions to the same problem. Now, I leave you with these parting words. Try to be rational. Try not to put so much pressure on yourself. We are all working this race, and at the end of the day, none of us is going to leave here alive. So take things one day at a time. Be happy. Be content with what you have. But please, work towards your goals. Dream big and work towards achieving all of your dreams. Much love from me to you, and it's bye for today.